माक्षवेद्यजत्रा स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति न पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ओम्।
So we discussed, when we were discussing the earlier portions, we found two Gauravakshins came forward and they raised this question. The first, before that also, but the last two objections. Shunyameva hi tatna mithyavekalpasya nirnimittatva anuvartehi. So this is a. So one objection is if Turiya is beyond any kind of verbalization, it's called Shabda, Pancha Shabda Pravritti. This is called verbalization of the possibility of description or explanation or definition, that is Shabda Shabdanam Pravritti. So this Turiya cannot be explained in terms of Jadi, Guna, Rudhi, Karma, Sambandha. And then it's not directly perceptible. And you cannot interact with it through Pratyaksha Pramana, or you cannot do Anumana there. And it's not visible. In that case it is Shunyam. The background is, the Bhashikara said, Vishwa Tejasa Prajna. And then Turiya. This Turiya is different from all the other three. Turiya cannot be experienced at the empirical level, cannot be explained or defined or described or anything. In that case it is emptiness, it is nothingness. So the only reply that would satisfy these Shunyavadins is this. Nahi Rajada Sarpa Purusha Mriga Trishnegadi Vigalpaha Suttiga Rejusthanura Usharadi Vidirigena Avasthaspada Sakyaha Kalpayam. So Nahi Sakyaha Kalpayam, that's it, Anmaya. What it means is, none of these external superimpositions, for example, silverness cannot be experienced without Suttika. The feeling that there is a pool of water in the desert cannot happen without a desert being there. The misconception that is a rope cannot happen without some object lying there, that is the edge. So, suppose we say the whole world is just a superimposition, that is actually a proof that there is something on which it is superimposed. And that something on which it is superimposed is called aspada. Like for example, the support for water is the ghada, in which the water is kept. So therefore, the reply is the very fact that all these vikalpas, remember vikalpas are not asat. That's an important thing. Rajadam is there, but not in the desert, not in the form of suttika. It is somewhere maybe in your room or maybe in the shop. Sarpa is there, it is in the forest, in the zoo, but not in the room. So these are not asat, but it's a pradibhasika. Pradibhasadevi, pradibhasika. So the point is, but for all these pradibhasika sattas, there should be vyavakarika. And all vyavakarika should have a paramartha. So vyavakarika satta is relative reality. To have something that is relative, you should have something that is beyond relative, that is the absolute. So pradibhasika satta should have a vyavakarika as a foundation. Vyavakarika should have a paramarthika foundation. The Paramatya foundation cannot become part of a Drishtanta. So Vyavaharika is given, and this Vyavaharika Sutta itself is a Vikalpa for Paramatya. So behind all these there should be a Paramatya Satta. So therefore it is not Shunyam, that is the view here. Remember, that's an important thing. And I mentioned, I think I quoted, Shunyam is defined by Nagarjuna as, that is, Anirodham, Anupannam, Anuchedam, etc. So it is something that cannot be destroyed, cannot be permanent, doesn't exist, cannot come, cannot go, and so on. Anyway, so that kind of Shunya is not what we are talking about as the Siddhantik's view. Evantarki, etc. So this example let's already. Next one is, the next objection is Shasavishanadi Samatvat. That is, it could be like Asat. It's an example from Asat. That is, Shasavishana is an Asat. In that case, it is a total impossibility. Now, from something that is absolutely nothing, that is totally empty, you cannot have any kind of empirical experience. That is a simple principle. If you feel relief, then there should be a reason. You may have taken some kind of a medicine for fever. If you are hungry, you must have eaten food. So, if you are thirsty, you must have drunk water to get rid of thirst. So, Sasavishanu Samatva, that is the objection. In that case, Turiya is Sasavishanagat, means just like the horns of a hare. Nirathagatvam, it is of no use. See, Artha here means benefit, practical utility. So there's no benefit, no prayojanam, no effect. So in reply to this, Siddhantik says, no, Atmatva avagame turiyasya anatma trishna vyavurti hedutvad. So when you realize that your true nature is, your true swarupa is turiya, then what happens? Anatma trishna vyavurti. All desires for empirical things, anatma, all desires for worldly pleasures, all will be destroyed. You will be liberated. All these will disappear when you get your knowledge of your identity with Turiya. Sukti, the next drishtanta is given. Suktika avagame iva rajadrishnayam vyavurti hedutva. That should be Anvaya, should be done there. That means just like when you realize it is not silver, it is just Suktika. At that time, your search, your desire to have piece of silver, it also will disappear. Nahi turiyasya atmatavagame sati avidyatrishnani doshanam sambhavasti. Now, once of course this I explained in a brief yesterday. So what it says is, when a person realizes that his nature is turiya, then there cannot be any kind of trishna, any kind of desire due to avidya. Why? Because you get kridarthata and kridagruttida. That is the Gagaras will tell you, other commentators will tell you when the subject discussed in other scriptures, the other granthas. So what's the benefit of Atma Jnanam, Turiya Jnanam? The answer given is, when you realize that your Turiya, your Atman, your Brahman, what happens is you feel a kind of internal contentment, which is really not happiness. Because happiness, sukha, dukkha, happiness and happiness, as we understand at empirical level, is only a temporary absence of its counterpart. For example, happiness is a temporary absence of unhappiness. Unhappiness is a temporary absence of happiness for the time being. But kridarthada and kridagruttida, Krita means artha means what you want, what you deserve, what you need. That is already attained. That is Kritartha. Kritartha means, well, what you ought to do, what you should have done, that you have already done. It's a strange kind of internal and intense kind of sense of contentment. Not just satisfaction, but contentment. And when this happens, you don't have any desire for anything else, anything beyond, nothing more to achieve. So that is the real benefit of Turiya means our realization that we are Turiya. That is avidya krishnadi doshanam sambhava. Why? Because you become Kritartha. That's the idea behind. This word is used in many other post-Shankaric works as the natural result of Atma Jnana. Kritartha. Natha turiyasya atmatva anavagame karanamasti. And when you realize the Supreme Truth, then there is no reason why this cannot happen. Why? Pramana is given Sarva Upanishadam Tadathena Bhakshayam. So you find in the Upanishadic literature, you find a trend. That, for example, Janaka Yajnavalkya Sambhada, that comes in the Jyoti Brahmana, in the Brihadaranyaka. So Janaka is sitting in the court, Yajnavalkya comes and Janaka is asking a question. The first question is, that is, Yajnavalkya, Jyotirayam Purushaiti. Kim Jyotirayam Purushaiti. So Astamayi Aditya Yajnavalkya, Chandramasi Astamide, Shantayam Agnu, Shantayam Vaji. So when the sun sets in the west, when there is no moonlight, then there is no fire, and there is no speech, when all these go away, Kim Jyotirayam Purushaiti. The first question is Kim Jyotirayam Purushaiti, and what is the light that helps you to live in this world, to move about, to do things? And the answer is given by Yajnavalkya as Aditya Jyoti. Then suppose Aditya also has gone. Aditya Astamide Yajnavalkya Kim Jyotirayam Purushaiti. Yajnavalkya says Chandra, that is Chandra Jyoti. Chandramasi Astamide Kim Yajnavalkya Kim Jyotirayam Purushaiti. Then Agni Jyoti. And Chandayam Agnu Vab Jyoti. And then Vab Jyoti also is not there, Atma Jyoti. So you find one after another, finally Atma Jyoti comes. When Atma Jyoti comes, all Shastras also disappear. They become irrelevant. Shastras become irrelevant in the sense, the Shastras are no more useful or needful for you to realize the Supreme Truth, because Shastra's goal is to remove ignorance and not to reveal anything. Shastra cannot reveal you anything. Shastra just disconnects the connection between what you want to know and ignorance. And ignorance in the form of light. For example, the rope, the Rajju was connected to darkness because there was not enough light in that rope. So he mistook it for a snake. So when you bring light, what happens is the connection between Rajju and darkness, semi-darkness, is gone. So what happens? Then Rajju is revealed. So that's why Shastram tu Ajnana Nivartanam Jnana Pravatanam. Shastram, Upanishad do not reveal the Supreme Truth. The Upanishad only remove darkness. Because if you say that Upanishad taught you the truth, Upanishad gave you the truth, it will be like saying that light produced rope. You don't require light for the rope to exist, to produce the rope. Light's role is to remove darkness. Shastram is only meant to remove ignorance. And after the ignorance is removed, what remains? Silence. And then Shastra retires, takes pension. That's why, It is mentioned here, Sarva Upanishadam Tadatthena Upakshayat. And when it is avidya, dosha, trishna, all gone, disappeared, then Shastras have no more role. The Veda Bhavanti, etc. All Vedas become Avedas in the sense, Vedas lose their relevance. The Anubhuti is always beyond scriptures. So that's one of the uniqueness of Vedanta, and you should remember that. Advaita Vedanta, because in all non-Advaita scriptures, Anubhuti is mentioned, but the scripture is very important. Advaita is the only thing that tells you that Veda Bhavanti. No other, because in Abrahamic traditions, the book is as sacred as God Himself, because every word, every comma is coming from God. In some of the Abrahamic traditions. In Christianity, there is always a possibility of going beyond books. Eckhart's philosophy or Christian mysticism. For example, Saint Teresa of Avila was a great Spanish saint, a woman saint. And there are quite a few mystics who went beyond books and who connected the experience, but they got only post-mortem recognition. That's it. Mostly they were canonized, they were made saints only after their passing away. When they were living, they were persecuted. But here the Upanishad directly tell you, there are no more books for the Jivan Mukta. Not that Jivan, but you find Jivan Muktas will be always reading books, be quoting from books. Because what else did they quote from? Nothing else. But actually they transcend the limitation of books and scriptures. That's why Veda Bhavanti. That's why Sarva Upanishadam Tadathena Upakshayat. As you find in the Tattwamasi Mahavakya. Shvedaketu requested his father to repeat this Tattwamasi Upadesha 8 times with 8 separate dristantas from 10th Brahmana onwards, the Khanda, Brahmana Khanda onwards, in the 6th chapter of Mandukya. This continuous repetition. Bhuya eva ma bhagavan vijñāpayuru. Please teach me again. So Uddalaya repeated Tattwamasi Mahavakya Upadesha 8 times. Total 9 statements. One statement, 8 repetitions, with 8 fresh examples. And then only Upanishads retired. When Svetaketu finally, in the 16th Khanda, yes, that's realized it. This is an important thing to remember. So, then Tasatyam Sa Atma, Yas Sakshat Aparokshat Brahma, Sabhakya Pintiro Hyaja, etc. Atma Vedam Sarvam. So these are examples. Shruti retires. It means Shruti has no more role. Shruti is like light. You bring a torchlight and you focus on the red jewel or what you mistook to be Sarpa, and then you understand it is Sarpa red jewel. Then the torchlight can be switched off. That's the idea behind. Like scriptures, Sarva Upanishadam, here means Tadathena, with that end, with that purpose, Upakshaya means retire. And the next paragraph is, of course, we already discussed. Soyam Atma Paramartha Abaramartha Rupaha Taduspanityuktaha Tasya Abaramartha Rupam Avidya Krudam Ridusapadi Samam Uktam Padatrayakshana Bijangrasthaniyam, etc. Now, of this Atman, of this Turiya, there are 2 dimensions. One is the Vikalpa dimension, the other is the Aspada dimension. One is Vishwa Taijasa Prajna, the other is Turiya itself. So Vishwa Taijasa Prajna correspond to the empirical world, the Vikalpa, the superimposition. Like for example, red jew, the rope, the stick, the crack on the floor, or the snake and all these vikalpas, superimpositions. That is aparamartha, means the relative, that it is not absolute, Vishwa, Tejas, Prajna, Jagra, Swapna, Sushupti. So, this is the aparamartha dimension, the relativity dimension. The other is paramartha, the absolute reality dimension. Of these, aparamartha means the relative, bijangrasthaniya, means by Sushupti is bija, the karana dimension. Jagra Swapna are karya dimension. Athaidanim is a, now this sentence is an introduction of the seventh mantra, which we are going to discuss right now. Atha, now, idanim, right now, abhijatmakam, that goes beyond the karana dimension. Paramartha surubam, the absolute reality. Ridhusthaniyam, corresponding to rope in the rope snake analogy. Sarpadisthaniyokta sthanatraya niragaranena. Aha. So we are going to, this is stated here, it is stated how by rejecting sarpa, bhuchidra, etc. That means you bring light. The Vijayasura Brahmani is a constant reference point in the entire Mandukya Upanishad, Bhashya, and also in the Karika. So you will always find this happening again and again. Everywhere it happens. So you bring light and then you remove all the four possible misconceptions with regard to the object lying there. That is, it's not rope, it is not snake, it is not stick, it is not a crack on the floor, and it is not a thin stream of water. All these four superimpositions are removed, and what remains? Rajju only. So Rajju is lying there, four persons took it differently, understood it differently. One person thought it was a crack on the floor. Bhuchidra, another person thought it was a serpent, a snake, another one a piece of stick. Then another one mistook it for a thin stream of water, Jaladhara. So all these vikalpas are gone. That's why sarpadisthaniya, saniyokta sthanatraya niragaranena. So remember, when it comes to vikalpas with regard to rope, there are four. But when it comes to vikalpas in the context of turiya, there are only three. That is Jagra, Swapna, Sushupti. They are the same. Niragaranena, they are rejected. That is Nanta Prajnam, Swapna, Taijasa is rejected. Na Bhishprajnam, Vishwa, Jagra state, waking state is rejected. Like that it comes. Aha, Antaprajnam ityadina. That's why it begins. Na Antaprajnam, na Vishprajnam, na Vedaprajnam, na Prajnanaghanam, na Prajnam, na Aprajnam, Adrishyam, Avyavaharim, Grahyam, Lakshanam, Achindhyam, Avyapadeshyam, Ekatma Pratyasaram, Prapanchopashamam, Shantam, Shivam, Advaitam, Chaturtham, Manindesa, Atma Savijñeya. Prapanchopashamam means Jagra, Swapna, Sushupti, all merged in Turiya. That's the idea behind. Okay, now coming to the Bhashya proper. Now, come.
Idea of Jivan Mukta
or Brahmatya Purusha while he is alive, not after, not post death. So, will it be
Actually, could you repeat once for just one? Yeah. The idea Jivan Mukta.
First is idea of Jivan Mukta, that he is Mukta right now. Not that after death he will become Mukta.
Then we take a Mukti.
So will this be, in terms of theory or understanding, will it be applicable to all whom we call as saints?
No. So in fact that's the subject going to be discussed in that Bhashya beginning with Rajjuliva Sarpadi Vilpamana etc. They are actually description of Jivan Mukti. There you find. And also the other option, that is Videka Mukti. That will be discussed here. That's precisely it discussed here in the Shabda Parokshvada, which is corresponding to Jivan Mukti. So you find in this line beginning with Rijuriva Sarpadi Vikrimana. The idea is simple, I can explain to you right now. What it means is, those who are fully established in Sadhana Chadushta Sampatti and also fully established in Savanam, Maranam, Nidhyasanam, for them, I mean, they have gone beyond the 7 disciplines. For them, if they listen to Tattvamasi Mahavakya, immediately they will realize Aham Brahmasmi Anubhuti. Just like when light is brought, then immediately you realize it is Rajju, all the Sarpajnana, Sarpapraditi, etc., all will disappear. But this will happen only to highly advanced spiritual personalities. It is called Shabda Parokshvada, a view held by 4 Shankaracharya Advaitins belonging to Vivarana school. That is Panchapadika, Padmapada, Panchapadika Vivaranam by Prakasa Medi, Vivarana Prameya Sangraha by Vidyaranya, etc. The other option that we mentioned is Videka Mukti, etc., is for those, they may listen to Mahavakya and they may be fully established in Sadhana Chadushta Sampatti. Mumukshutvam is strong. Everything is there. And also Sravanam, Maranam, Nidhyasanam, also they practice. So they only practice Sodavyo, Mantavyo, Nidhyasya. They practice this as a upasana. But then they are not fully established in that. For them, even after listening to Mahavakya, their evolution continues. Because as they get more and more mature in their Sravana, Marana, Nidhyasana, gradually they will reach a point, oh, what I am reading now, what I am reading the Upanishads, after a real fact in my own life. It becomes Anubhuti. But not immediately, gradually. That view is called Prasankhyana. Prasankhya means dhyana abhyasa. That means somebody who listens to Mahavakya, and many of our spiritual seekers whom you meet every day, they are all very sincere seekers. They also have studied Upanishads, Mahavakya, and also they want to have Brahmajnana. But still, they have not attained it. They are struggling. So, what they have to do? They should practice Karma Yoga. Because Karma Yoga means Nishkama Karma, will neutralize the negative samskaras which are accumulated in the karmasaya, and as negative samskaras are more and more neutralized, positive samskaras are able to neutralize negative samskaras. This Sravanam, Maranam, Nidhyasanam will become more intense, and then it becomes experience. And Videka Mukti, you know what happens? Such sadhakas, according to Prasankhyana school, those sadhakas at the end of their life, they actually reach the highest, the zenith, the perfection in all this. Sadhana Sampatti, Sravana, and Nidhyasana. Immediately it becomes experience. Maybe I think when I read the life stories of many of the great saintly monks in our own order, the old early generation, last moment there is example of Prasankhya. Prasankhya only happens only when those sadhakas have done a lot of spiritual practice. They are already advanced souls, but Jivan Mukti state doesn't happen. But it may be that they want to continue doing service. Then also they practice Prasankhya. Prasankhya literally means, morning you read the scriptures, you are fully intellectually convinced. That means you have you have Siddhanta Jnana, but not Aprakshanapuri. And then you practice puja, karma yoga, niskama karma, service and all that. So what happens, at the end of this sadhana, prasankhana, it becomes experience. So both are implied here, but this particular paragraph is direct reference to Shabda Apraksha, Jivan Mukta state, that we will discuss very soon. But before that, Purvapakshi comes forward with an objection. Nanu Atmanaha Chadushpatam Patiknyaya Padatraya Kathanenaiva Chaduthasya Andapratyadibhyu Anyate Siddhi Na Andapratyamityadi Pradeshethu Anathaka. It is just like an irritant, this Purvapaksha. Purvapaksha is asking a question. So remember, this Purvapaksha is very important. According to many schools, many scholars, the Purvapaksha as a technique, as a design was perfected by Shankaracharya in this system, because you have to deal with so many different non-Advaitic schools. So he wanted to emphasize, underline certain points, certain important doctrines of Advaita philosophy. To focus on those points, he wanted somebody to raise a question so they can emphasize those important points as part of the response to objections. That will be more effective. That's the purpose. That's the view of many post-Shankarite scholars. So here the objection is, you already mentioned in the second mantra, if you read the second mantra, so you should listen to the second mantra and then you find the exact implication of this. The second mantra is very simple. Sarvam ki edat brahma soyam atma chadushpa. That mantra, second mantra, is referred to here. What does the second mantra tell you? The second mantra tells you that this Atman, this Brahman, has got 4 quarters, chadushpat, 4 padas. That's the idea. Now, after having stated that this Turiya has got 4 quarters, and you already explained 3 quarters. So by implication, it becomes obvious that the next one is the 4th one. Obvious. Then why do you have to resort to the negative theology? Negative theology was the term normally used to describe the philosophy, the theological doctrine of Meister Eckhart, Germanic priest, the great philosopher, and Advaitin, as we can understand, who lived in 13th century Germany. So I'm using that because I have to use it when I give lectures in the USC. So apophatic theology, they call it. Anyway, it was not well received by the Catholic Church, as Advaita also was not well received by many denominations within India. So all this happened. Advaita is not always very palatable thing for everyone, as you know. So here, after having stated that Turiya has got 4 quarters, and then after having explained all the 3, then why do you have to use negative terms to explain the 4th one? What is left out is 4th, obvious. And not only that, you say the 4th one is beyond description, beyond definition, etc. So, Ityadi Pradeshedhava means that is this negative way of explaining, when you're explaining Turiya by describing what Turiya is not, it is anartha, it is meaningless. So that is the Purvapaksha objection. Now reply comes. Na Sarpadi Vigatpa Pradeshedhenaiva Rituswarupa Pradivativad Trivastasya eva Turiyatvena Pradipipadayishatvat. So, Tattvamasi idivat. Idihi Trivasthatma Vilakshanam Turiyamanya Tat Pradivati Dwara Bhava Shastropadesha Anathakyam Sunidapati. Wow. This is very important. But this is, well, suppose somebody mistakes Rechu as Sarpa, then what do? you explain to that person that it is not sarpa, it is only Rajju. Similarly, when you talk about the absolute reality as having four quarters, and now here the problem is you have clearly stated the first three stages: Avishwa, Tejasa, Prajna. Turiya is not a state like that. Turiya is not a state like Vishwa is one state, Jagra state, Swapna, dream, Swapna state, and Prajna is Sushupti state. Turiya is another state of this category. Because Turiya is nothing but Vishwa, Tejasa, Prajna itself. And what does it mean? This Rajju is Sarpa itself. Only you mistake it for Sarpa, a snake. Rajju is the stick itself, Danda itself. Only you mistake it as Danda. So, Turiya is this Vishwa, Tejasa, Prajna itself. Only you mistake it Vishwa, Tejasa, Prajna. It is not something other than that. See, suppose you say Rajju is something other than what is lying there, then there is nothing, you cannot explain it. Whatever you mistook to be Sarpa is Rajju itself. This world itself is Brahman. This world itself is Brahman. That's one important thing. In Advaita tradition, Brahma Satyam, Jagat Satyam is the more complete description of Advaita. Brahma Satyam, Jagat Mithya is only from a Dvaita point of view. Because you have to tell the other person, you fellow, don't run away, it is not a snake, it is only a piece of rope. You have to tell, otherwise you will run away. But once he realizes that it is a rope only, then you have to tell him, don't run away. Because he realizes what he earlier mistook to be a snake and was trying to run away is actually a rope only. So that we don't have any place to run away from. When you realize Brahman, you don't go beyond the world, you don't leave the world and go somewhere else. You continue living this world. Only you don't look at the world as world. Why? Because you don't see Nama and Rupa. Unless you see Nama and Rupa, you cannot see the world. So we don't see the Nama and Rupa. What do you see? Only Brahman. See, a goldsmith may judge different golden ornaments in terms of the quality of gold used. That's how he judges. This gold may be lower quality, something may be a higher quality. That's how he judges the quality of golden ornaments. But when we go and buy, then we may make a distinction because a ring is something, a necklace is something, is shape, workmanship and all that. But goldsmith is looking at the gold only. Jivan Mukta is looking at Brahman only. Jivan Mukta doesn't see golden ornaments. He is like a goldsmith who focuses on gold. The pot maker, he knows that everything is clay only. So he may judge different clay pots, different vessels, he may judge from the point of quality of clay that is used. That's all. So, here, the Tattwamasi is used here. Tat is Paramatma. That Paramatma is Jivatma only. The Jivatma, of course, is Sthanatraya Sakshi. It is present in the Jagra, Swapna, Sushupti stages. Waking, dream and deep sleep stage. So in Tattwamasi you use Dakshinamurti. In the Turiya Vishwadesa Prajna analysis you use Tatparivritti. Tatparivritti means that is the implication. That's why now you read the Bhashya Sarpadi Vigalpa Pradishedhenaiva Rajju Swarupa Pradivatti. Just like when you reject the idea that it is Sarpa, thereby getting knowledge that it is Rajju, you say it is not snake, it is only rope, At that time you get a clear understanding that it is the rule. Like that, Trevastasya eva Turyatvena Prati Pipada Ishidatvat. So we are planning in this, our plan is to explain, to make clear that Turiya is nothing but the same Atma which you earlier perceived as Vishwa, that is Prajna. The world that we perceive in terms of Nama and Rupa is itself actually recognized to be Turiya or Brahman when you get out of ignorance or this misconception. Otherwise there will be one rope will be there, but so snake has to run away. In fact, in the Kariga, he will tell you, Prapancho Edividyeda, Nivatena means, suppose the world is there, then it is gone away. But actually there is no world. If there is a serpent, a snake in the room, you have to take a stick and kill it or drive it away. But you don't drive away any snake. You only drive away the wrong perception in your head that it is a snake. So what you mistook to be snake is now recognized to be Teju. What you earlier thought this world is now recognized to be non-distinct and non-different from Brahman. That's the Jivamukta state. And when this happens, a Jivamukta is released from all karmas. Prarabdha karma may continue in the case of Jivamukta. But we may think that Jivamukta is living under the impact of Prarabdha karma, but for him, Prarabdha karma doesn't exist. It is as good as non-existent. Sanjita karma, of course, burnt. The Bija Nyaya, they become as good as non-existent. And Agami karma cannot happen because he is fully established in Nishkama karma. Nikartata Bhoktutva is not there, so there will be no Agami karma. Prarabdha karma, which is responsible for the present embodiment, may continue, but so far as he is concerned, it is as good as non-existent. Shankaracharya himself in the Advaita tradition, there is a clear statement for you should know that. In our tradition, Holy Mother says, for example, if you are destined to be bitten by a cobra, then if you pray, if you do a lot of spiritual disciplines, spiritual practice, then what happens is you may not be bitten by a cobra, but you may be bitten by a water snake, or maybe a scorpion, or if you are destined to be bitten by a scorpion, you may be bitten by an ant. That's all. So nothing will happen. The intensity of Prarabdha karma's impact will be radically reduced or completely neutralized in according to our tradition. Now, in the Vartika, referring to Shankaracharya Bhashya itself, Brihadaranya Upanishad Bhashya Vartikam, Shankaracharya says, Prarabdham karma prarabdham iti chedapi nadu sunishchidam. The implication is, suppose you are destined to be maybe destined to suffer some unfortunate things in life. That is the result of prarabdha karma, let us say. What is responsible for the present embodiment. But the point is, you don't have to suffer the effect of prarabdha karmas necessarily. Prarabdha karma is like an arrow that is left above, prakashena arabdha. It has already started manifesting in a comprehensive manner. So, pra-upasarga, vi-upasarga is a different uses in this as a grammar, upasarga vritti. So, prarabdha karma can be either different kinds of prarabdha karma or may comprehensively these prarabdha karmas have already started manifesting. As a result of this this present embodiment happened in this life, this born in this family, in this background, and so on. So, but the arrow that is left above doesn't have to hit the target necessarily. It has to extinguish its velocity. It is flying, it is moving towards its target. It could be that movement could be blocked by an obstacle that comes between the arrow and the target towards it is flying. Or it could be deflected, a strong wind may blow and the arrow can be deflected in one direction and it won't hit the target.
So Jivan Mukta is as if liberated. Means something is...
No, Jivan Mukta is fully liberated. See,
karma you told.
Yeah, I come into that. Jivan Muktas are not full, no, they still have to go to the impact of Prarabdha.
Little something is there.
That little something. Yeah. No, you see, Jivan, see, I tell you, Jivan, the example is even Lord Krishna himself, Bhishma, Vidamaha himself. So many examples given by scholars. So the difference is, Lord Krishna himself faced his death with a smile. He himself set up a plan to do that. You know, the Yadava race was cursed by the rishis. So the whole story you may know. Ramananda Sagar, I think, thanks to him, everyone knows what Vyasa wrote without going through in the volumes. I'm not seeing that movie. Anyway, the point is, so you know what happens. That's why I said earlier, for a Jivan Mukta is concerned, Prarabdha is as good as non-existent. What does it mean? Because he doesn't identify himself with his body. Prarabdha karma and its phala. Karma can only be karma phala. Karma implies karma phala, not karma itself. The karma phala really affects his body. Actually, the antakarnas are not necessarily impacted. Because antakarna, vasana, all neutralized by Atmajnana. The body is 5 elements. So that's why Lord Krishna himself could not escape from the curse which he said was part of his own design. The others became so haughty and proud and arrogant. And Krishna wanted to get rid of them. And because there will be a curse to the earth, his own people. He was fully detached. So Uddhava went and asked Krishna, you can save all of us. They are fighting and killing each other. Krishna said, don't worry, it is my own plan. Because they become so arrogant, so haughty, they will be a curse to this earth. So Krishna's very purpose of incarnation will be complete only Yadavas themselves are completely wiped out. Because after the demons were killed, Yadavas started behaving like demons. So they insulted all the rishis and sages. So Krishna told Uddhava, Tum sarvam parityajya sneham sujarabandushu maya vesa manasamyak samudra vijarasugam. So Uddhava wanted Krishna to save the whole Yadava race. I can do that, but I won't. Because God himself, Ishvara himself doesn't upset his own plan. So what he did, he asked Uddhava, you go, give up everything, sarvam parityajya sneham sujarabandushu. Give up all your aham, mama, mamada, all these your attachment to Yadavas, your own people, and then move from place to place. He go towards Haridwar, Rishikesh, he went all the way up to Badri. That's how Uddhava reached Badrinath. As the whole place became holy in Indian tradition. So anyway, the point is, even in incarnation, himself doesn't drastically upset Prarabdha. See, Lord Guru Maharaj himself is only elder brother, the water drinking, Guru Maharaj could have neutralized it. But incarnations, they themselves upset their own design. Okay, that's an important thing. So, Prarabdha karmas are as good as non-existent for Jivana. But from our perspective, when we analyze, we say it is Prarabdha karma. That's karma means karma phala. That's important thing. So, this Prarabdha Dharma is not like an arrow that should hit the target no matter what comes. You know, even a missile, ballistic missiles can be neutralized by a counter missile. One missile can be neutralized, another missile, in ICBM and all that, right? Actually, something like that. So the missile only has to extinguish velocity. That could be done by hitting another missile. So Prarabdha Dharma can be neutralized when you do dhyana prapatti. So prapatti is the most important effective tool to face, to confront Prarabdha Dharma. When you do prapatti, what happens? All can get reduced in its intensity. By the way,
In Vedanta, prapatti is accepted, Mother.
oh yeah, Vedanta prapatti is accepted as a means of chitta shuddhi. Yeah. Prapatti comes in many of these Gita Bhashya. So when you read entire Advaita literature, you have no confusion. Only when you read some fat little, then Advaita means you are not living there, you are not sitting there, I am not giving classes like that. That's what Advaita says. And this mic is not there, this is not Mayavati, this is not India. It's all illusion, all wrong. That sort of thing is not Advaita. You may call it by any other respectable term. Okay, coming to subject. So that's why Prakashena Arudam Idichetna to Sunishchidam. That means the arrow only has to extinguish its velocity. It doesn't have to hit the target. So now coming to subject again. So Tattvamasi Jivat Yadihi Pyavasthatma Vilakshanam Turiyamanya. Now question. Suppose you say that Turiyam is something else other than whatever is present in the Jagra Swapna Sushruti stage. What happens, the Pratipatti Dwara Abhavat, there will be no way to understand it. Because you argue that Vishwa, Taijasa, Prajna, these three states are not absolutely real. They are only vikalpas. And then you also say that Turiya cannot be perceived through any of the pramanas, cannot be explained. Then what happens? There will be no way to realize, to have experience of Turiya. The Pratipatti Dwara, to understand it, to realize it, there will be no way. Shastra Upadesha Anarthakyam. The Shastra itself becomes meaningless. That's why, remember bringing the light, focusing on the object, and then you realize that it is not Sappa, it is a only. That's the only role of Shastra. So, when you realize Turiya, what happens is, what you mistook yourself, when you mistook yourself in the body, you now realize, I am the Atman, I am Turiya. You don't realize you're Turiya in another person's body, another person's personality. I earlier thought I am this body, mind, complex. But now I understand I am not this body, mind, complex. Body, mind, complex was like Sarpa, Vikalpa. The reality is Turiya, that's my true entity. Now the real Bhashya comes. This is the thesis for this Jivanmukti, at least in the context of Mandukya Upanishad Bhashya, earlier portion. There are many other areas in the Karika Bhashya you find this. Rijjuniva Sarpadibhi Vigatpimana Sthanatraye Api Atma Eka Eva Antarprajnadi Tvena Vigatpide Yada Tada Antarprajnaditva Pradisheda Vijnana Pramana Samakalameva Atmani Anartha Pravanjanimurti Lakshanam Phalam Parisamaptam Idi Turiyadhigame Pramanandram Sadhanandram Va Namrugyam Rijju Sarpa Viveka Samakare Ivarajjuam Sarpanamurti Phale Swadi Rijjadhigamasya. So Samakala should be read as Samakale because when it's followed by a Swarakshara, it becomes Samakala in the Santi room. So we should read it correctly when you split it. So Rijuriva Sarpadi Vigalpimana Sthanatri Atma etc. Now when you mistake a Riju for Sarpa, what happens is, and like that, when you mistake Vishwa Taijasa Prajna as the reality, what happens is you eventually try to realize that Turiya in the very Vishwa Taijasa Prajna itself. Just like you realize Rajju Buddhi, Rajju Pratyaya, Rajju Pratiti, Rajju Jnanam in the very snake itself. That means you mistook it for a snake and you are looking at it, you may be frightened by that. In that very object, you realize Rajju. So there is not two entities, one is Rajju, another is Sarpa. There is only one entity. Like that, Turiya only exists. Only we perceive the Turiya as Vishwa Taijasa Prajna. Just as we perceive Rajju as Sarpa, Pujidra, etc. That's why Rajju Riva Sarpadibhi Vyaktimana Sthanatraya means the Vishwa Taijasa Prajna. Remember, Vishwa Taijasa Prajna corresponds to Jagri Swapna Sushupti, which is the totality of all experiences. We cannot have any experience other than something that belongs to either of these categories. No human being can think of any kind of experience. It doesn't belong to any one of these three categories: Jagir, Swapna, Sushupti, Vishwa, Taijasa Prajna. So, Sthanatraya api eka eva. The same Turiya exists. The same one Turiya exists in Sthanatraya. Sthanatraya means Jagir, Swapna, Sushupti, Vishwa, Taijasa Prajna. So, and it is misunderstood to be Antaprajna. Antaprajna is nothing but Prajna identifying itself with Swapna experiences. Antaprajna. Prajna identifying itself with dream objects. Antaprajna. Prajna identifying itself with waking state experience called Bhishprajna. And Prajna experiencing itself with the Sushupti experience. Actually, there is no experience, it is called Aprajna. Actually, it is not mentioned here, it is called just there is no awareness at that time. So, Eva Antaprajna Nitvena get Pediyada Tada Atmani Anartha Prabhaja Nivrutti Lakshanam. What is the result? Atmani Anartha Prabhaja Nivrutti Lakshanam. In our own personality, we look upon ourselves as Prapancha. Prapancha means body-mind complex. I mistake myself to be my body, my mind, my intellect, and so on. This is Anartha Prapancha. Its nivrutti means removal. Just like the wrong perception of snake is removed, like that wrong perception that I am Bhishprajna, I am Antaprajna. I am seeing this objection making state, I am seeing different things, dream objection, dream state. I am the one who is seeing all this in making state. I am the one who is the drashta, the seer of dream objects. This Atmani Anartha Prapancha. They come the Nivrutti Lakshanam Phalam. That's the result is Nivrutti. These wrong perceptions disappear, they are removed. Parisamaptam, immediately happens. So remember, when you bring light, on a split second, you realize it is not Sarpa, it is not Rajju. You don't have to again ask questions. You don't go for any other, you take a book and refer to find out whether it is Rajju. No, you don't do that. It is obvious. Of course, a Drishtanta cannot do full justice to what he is trying to prove. So, the speed or the immediateness of the promptness with which we realize Our Turiya identity will be faster and quicker than the speed which you realize that it is only Riju and not Sattva. Because it's a visual experience, it's an internal experience, much faster. So, when a jiva who is so advanced, is fully ready, is fully equipped with sadhana, sampatti, sravana, manana, nidhyasana, etc. So what happens, immediately that experience happens. It's faster than split second. That's why parisamaptamiti turyadikame pramana, that's what pramana samakalameva, that's an important thing. At that split second, it happens. So, in the West, when I have to give classes, I give the example. Because I have to use more concrete examples. And you cannot use Sanskrit terms. It's easy actually. See, suppose you are driving from one city to another city. You go to San Francisco to Sacramento, about 90 miles. Suppose you are driving from one city to another city. And every day, suppose you are driving every day, morning and evening. You are familiar with the place. So somebody tells you, on the way there is a shop or something, or a building, you immediately remember. You don't have to explain to him where it stands, because every day he is seeing that. Only he did not realize that it is specific detail. He only just saw it and he didn't think about it. So when you explain to him that's a building with embassy or something situated, immediately you grasp it. Now in the case of Sri Ramakrishna, for example, his whole life, right from his birth onwards, he was immersed in meditation, japa, experience, spiritual disciplines all his life. So his mind was so fully saturated. So when Tattvamasi Mahavakya came, it became an immediate experience to him. So, and you don't have to wait for any time. When your mind is fully saturated with the spiritual samskaras, then Vedanta becomes very simple. You don't have to study Panini, Mahabhashya, Nyaya, Mimamsa, or anything. You have to teach academically, you have to do. For spiritual experience, all that you have to do is your mind should be ready for it. That Vedanta is an example. So there are two movements. One at the academic Shastra level, but that's only to train you, to make you ready for the higher fitness. The other is spiritual level. But if somebody tells you, I'll be like Swami Tattwamayananda, I won't read any of these things, that is a big problem. Because of laziness or idiocy, one can say, I won't care for holy, I want to be like Swami Tattwamayananda. You can do that. That's a kind of self-deception. So normal people should study, but then there are many stories, many great devotees also in devotion tradition you find. Many devotees certainly, they were so pure. I heard of some devotee, Shiva devotee, was a hunter, was offering meat to Shiva temple every day, and the priest will come in the evening, he will find out terrible things, he will clean up, and next day again he will find the same thing. But eventually it was found that the hunter who was worshipping Shiva in the forest with meat pieces was a far greater devotee than the priest was doing with all the mantras. So you should also keep that in mind. There is another journey at the spiritual space, but one should not, it's not a matter of choice, it's our own evolution. One should not say, I won't study scriptures because by not reading scriptures, I can get that's absolutely wrong. So very important to remember. So Shastras are very, very important, because without this, normal people cannot attain purity, because our mind is full of all samskaras, not always good. Many are good, many are absolutely good, many of them may be not so very good. So to increase the quantity of positive samskaras and thereby attain fitness, and then sadhana, tadushtha, sambhati and so on. For that we need Shastras. That's why, remember, and again another point is, the purpose is to eventually realize the truth when you listen, when you read this. Right now we are not able to do that because mind is not ready. We may know the grammatical meaning, Sanskrit, philosophy, everything, but mind has not reached there. The intellect has reached there, mind is far behind. So mind also should reach where intellect is ready to understand. That's why one statement should be kept in mind. So, tada antaprajnaditya pradishedha vijnana pramana samakalameva atmani anartha prapancha nivrutti lakshanam phalam parisamaktam iti duryajigame pramanandaram sadhanandaram va namrugyam. This is important. Actually, it's a rejection of prasankhyanavada. But for whom? For those who have reached the highest state. What is prasankhya? I mentioned already. Prasankhya means you read the scriptures, every day you read, you do different spiritual disciplines, and you keep your mind with all these samskaras. Slowly we increase in our own spiritual fitness. When we spiritually become more and more fit, then what we read every day will be a matter of experience. But this happens gradually, slowly. That view is called Prasankhyanavada. It's a school held by Bhamati school, which is named after Bhamati Tika by Vajaspati Misra. It's a Tika on Brahma Sutra Bhashyam, Shankaracharya. And then the Bhamati Prasthana is followed by Appayi Dikshita and others, Kalpadaru, Parimala, always do. According to the Sravanavritti, means you every day you listen, you read mantras and also do Karma Yoga. Slowly, gradually, you reach this fitness. And that is called Videha Mukti. When it happens before death, it is called Videha Mukti. According to other schools, for some spiritual seekers, it may not happen in this life. But in the next life, they will be born in families and circumstances where the journey will be smooth. And Sudhinam Simadam Gehi Vipushtobhijayade Athava Yoginam Evakule Bhavati Dhimadam. Those who have got the higher dhi, higher buddhi, higher vairagya, etc., that they yoginam, they will be born in the families of yogis, spiritual seekers. So for them the journey will be automatic and smooth. That's the idea behind. But here one point is, once you realize this, then there is no other spiritual discipline required. But remember, this is Shabda Varokshavad. Pramanandaram sadhanandaram va namrugyam. Nothing else is required. So I'll give the example will be given. Somebody is bringing light and you understood it is not snake, it is rope. Then you don't run away anymore. You don't think of it. And you don't make any further investigation whether it will bite me or not, because you know it is not a serpent, it is rope only. Like that, there is no other requirement, no other discipline required at this stage. Riju sarpa vigalpa samakale iva rijuam sarpa nivrutti phale tasadi riju adhigamasya. So we already discussed this. Now another possibility is explained here in the next paragraph. Yesham punaha tamopanayana vidiregena gadadhigame pramanam vyapriyade tesham chidyavaiva sambandha viyoga vidirekena anyadalavayave api chidihi vyapriyade ityuktam siyad. Now, suppose somebody tells you, after removing darkness by bringing light, you need something else to pursue a ghata, or maybe in the context of Rajusarpa, to pursue Raju. Yeshan punaha tamopanayana vidiregena gadadhigame, because ghata was linked to darkness. So you could not see ghata. Ghata means pot. And when you disconnect, remove the connection between ghata and darkness by bringing light. When you bring light, what do? You disconnect ghata from darkness. You separate it. What happens? Then ghata becomes separate. But suppose somebody tells you that we need something more to understand that it is ghata. It's like people who tell you. Another example is given. Suppose you have a piece of wood and with an axe you cut into two. So what do? You are actually separating the two pieces, one from the other. Actually it is only one piece. But for the time being, let us say, you disconnected this half from this half by cutting it across. What happens? Somebody tells you not to disconnect it, you do something more on this half or this half. You don't have to do anything more. You don't have to polish or anything. One piece of wood, you cut it into two. What you did, you disconnected the two half, or you separated one from the other. So somebody who argues that after this Turiyadhigama, after understanding, realizing this Turiya, you again have to do puja, pan and pilgrimage. You can do, but not as a sadhana, because a Jivan Mukta, after Jivan Mukti, he will not do anything other than some activity connected to spiritual life. Jivan Mukta doesn't go for anything else, because there is nothing else he can do. A great physics professor, after retirement, again will be reading books and physics articles or something, scientific American. So that's naturally what we expect. Similarly, Jivan Mukta may continue doing puja, all these pilgrimages, teaching, etc. But for him it is not a means with a purpose to attain something. It's a natural samskara. One cannot go against one's own accumulated samskaras. That's the idea behind. Tesham chetya avayava sambandha viyoga vidiregena. See, avayava sambandha means to half the piece of wood. They are connected. Che means chidikriya. Chidikriya means the act of cutting. Chetya avayava sambandha viyoga vidiregena. Apart from disconnecting the connection between the two halves, something else has to be done. If somebody says that, then it's totally meaningless. So, anidravevayapi chidivyapredi tiktam siyat. So, it will be like saying, even after cutting the piece into two, after disconnecting the connection between the two, again you have to work with your axe on both the pieces. That kind of thing will be totally ridiculous. Apart from disconnecting the connection between the two halves of the stick, you don't have to do anything. Like that, after getting Jivan Mukti through this Shabda Bhroksha, again you don't have to do anything else. But one may continue doing some sadhanas. Even a Jivan Mukta will be actively engaged in certain activities which may be done as a sadhana by other seekers. For Jivan Mukta, it is not a sadhana. It is natural vasana. This you find in Jivan Mukti Viveka and other books which explain different kinds of Jivan Mukti. Okay, I said everything. Yada punaka ghadatamuso viveka karane prabhuttam pramanam anuvadichidam Anvarsi tamo nivutti phalavasanam chidiriva chetyaveva sambandhi viveka karane prabhutta tadaveva vidhi bhava phalavasana tada nandriyagam ghada vijnanam na pramana phalam. Now again, at the same time, this act of cutting, I will explain this tomorrow again, same paragraph I will explain again, because I need some of these require 2 explanations. So first I shall make it clear, then every word I will explain tomorrow maybe. Now, If you have any doubt, we have 10 minutes. Any doubt, I will continue. Anything? Okay, now we continue. So here the point is, suppose the act of cutting the two into two, the Chedana Kriya, like that, when you do Chedana Kriya between Ghata and Tama, and that actually ends with the conviction that when you cut this two into two, the act of cutting the two will be over. There is nothing more required. Like that, when you understand that to realize Ghata, you don't have to do anything other than disconnecting the relationship between Tama and Ghata. Then what happens is, Ghataji Vijnanam is the ultimate phala. It is just Artha Siddhi. It is not the result of any kind of pramana. Because what happens when you just remove Tama by bringing light, that Ghata becomes revealed. So what it means is, the Turiya Jnana is not a result of any action. That's an important point. Mokshasya agaritva. This is an important principle. That is emphasized in this next part of the paragraph. Actually, the act of removing the connection, the interconnectedness between Ghata and Tama. Tama means darkness. It's not really an activity. What happens is, when you brought light, the darkness actually went away. The Ghata is not affected by either darkness or light. Ghata has nothing to do with your bringing light, or on the other hand, the Ghata remaining in dark room. Ghata remains totally unaffected. So once you realize Ghata for Ghata, then that itself is a self-reveal. It is not the result of any action. It has nothing to do with the activity involved in removing darkness. Even if you don't remove darkness, it will not be other than anything Ghata. So, it is not a result of any pramana. It is not a result of any activity. So, Turiya Jnanam is not a result of any activity. It is not a result of any pramana. Now you can read Yada Punaha Ghatatamasuho Vivekakarane Pravrittam Pramanam. What is the Pramanam? Ghatatamasuho Vivekakarane Pravrittam Pramanam. Pramanam is used, or the means, the method of cutting is used only for removing the connection between Ghata and Tama. It doesn't have anything to do with the revelation of Ghata. Why? Ghata is self-revealed. So, even if we keep ourselves under the ignorance that we are Vishwa, that is a prajna, then also we will not be Vishwa, we will be Turiya only. The realization that we are Turiya is not the result of our understanding that we are Turiya. The realization that we are Brahman is not the result of our understanding that we are Brahman. It is a fact. That's an important thing. Why? Mokshasya agaritva. Jnanam is not the result of any activity. Activity has a purpose. Activity helps us to reach up to Chitta Suddhi at the Vichara level. In this context, the act of cutting the piece of wood or removing darkness from its relation to Ghata, that only is for the purpose of removing disconnectedness, not for revealing Ghata. I think it's clear to you. The light doesn't reveal Ghata. The light only removes darkness. Vishwa types of prajna is like darkness. They are removed. So when this vikalpa is removed, then the reality is self-revealed. At the same time, the self-revelation of reality is not a result of an activity. in the process of removing darkness. Because the fact that it's Rajju doesn't depend upon our bringing light. The fact we are Turiya doesn't depend upon our realizing that we are Turiya. Even if we don't realize it, we are Turiya. That's why Mokshasya Akaryatva. It's a very important point. And also, Jnanam tu Ajnanivatvam and Jnanam Moksham. So when we take this paragraph, there are certain stock phrases from the Bhashya which are to again hit again and again. Otherwise it will not become clear. Mokshasya Akaryatvam. Any kind of pramana, any kind of activity, any kind of sadhana will not give us moksha. But they will remove darkness that stands in the way of moksha. So moksha becomes automatic. To give, I shall continue this after making one more point. Okay, I will stop. So the point is, there is a statement in this same, in the Bhasha it comes, Gita Bhasha it comes. 3-4 Bhashas come, slight difference in words. Karmanishtayaka chittasuddharena prasadahetu na swadandena jnananishtadu swadandena prasadahetu anyanapeksha. This one, Adhyapadavu navanna munchadi yatha sudesha deshagamine swadandresadi. 2 statements. One is the previous one. Please listen carefully. Karmanishtayaka chittasuddharena prasadahetu na swadandena. Karmanishtha. Or this kind of this cutting or removing darkness from the kala, the room. This karma. So this karma will take us to a point where the obstacle that stands in the way of our realizing Brahman is removed. That is Chitta Suddhi. And with Chitta Suddhi comes Jnana Prapti. That's why Karma Nishtha, Purusartha Viruddham, na Swadandrena. Why? Karma Nishtha cannot take us to moksha. But Karma Nishtha, it's almost like something, for example, let's say, you are entering a compartment from here, that train goes to Lucknow. This one compartment that goes to Bangalore, or somewhere else, say. But this train actually doesn't go to Bangalore. This compartment goes to Bangalore, but it will be attached to another train from Lucknow. That train goes to Bangalore, so this also will go. That's the idea behind. So, Karmanishta will take you up to Chitta Suddhi. And when you get Chitta Suddhi, naturally, it will lead to Jnana Prapti. But again, you cannot say Karmanishta will directly lead to Jnana Prapti. The train doesn't go to Bangalore directly. That's the idea. Jnananishthadu swadandrena purusartha hetu. So, Jnananishta means the vichara. That is, sadhana drisya sambhati, sarvana manana nidhyasana, fully established. Tattvamasi Upadesha comes, immediately Aham Brahmasmaya. That is immediate Swadandrena, it happens. Another point is, Nadhyaha Bhadago Navanna Munchadi, Yatha Sudesha Desagavane Sati. So you take a boat to cross the river. Nadhyaha Bhadago, you have reached the other end of the river. Navanna Munchadi, again you don't want this boat to carry on your head. But it is Yatha Sudesha Desagavane Prasavandri Sati. So when the darkness is removed, that means you have reached the other bank, then you don't think of this light that helped you to remove darkness. What happens? Yatha Sudesha Gamane Swadandri Sati. Because you can go wherever you want because you cross the river. So like that, Pramanam, Karma, or Shastram, all these things are meant only to remove vikalpas, or in the context of Ghata Tamasa, remove Tama, mean darkness, so that the fact it is Ghata will be self-revealed. So it is self-revealed, not revealed by something else. That's the main difference. That is Mokshasya Akaryatva. Moksha is not a result of Karya. Suppose Moksha Turiya Jnanam with the result of any activity of Pramana, then what happens? It will become impermanent. Anything that is a result of an activity will not be permanent. Because the activity is a cause, moksha is a result. That moksha cannot be permanent. That's why moksha is not a karya. Moksha is akaryatva. So the same paragraph, I have given you the outline. Again we go back to this bhashya. It becomes clear. So one important point, of course, today itself. One point I want to mention, tomorrow is the last day of this program. So I was thinking, in the morning itself, I can combine the two sessions. Maybe I can take 1 hour extra. So that evening I can go and visit some places, this CLBS, Samadhi, all those places. We'll be there till tomorrow morning. I'm leaving. So I was thinking tomorrow the morning session can be a little longer. So we can wind up. We can combine the two sessions. Not exactly 3 hours. That's left to you. So we can finish tomorrow morning. Okay? Thank you. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.